This channel is supported by TrueFire. TrueFire is an online library of lessons from some of my favourite players. There's thousands of lessons on there. You can use the promo code JNC40 to get 40% off of any of their courses. This guitar has been kind of interesting for me. It's, provided some things to talk about, and there's some more to talk about. Justin Norvell is Fender's EVP of product, whatever that means, something vice president. If this guitar had come out of one of our other facilities saying Fender, no one would be having this conversation. This is an article that I saw on Music Radar, and basically Fender are now giving some more info on it, saying it's not a Squier with a different decal. So let's kind of just talk about it, read what Justin's got to say. And I've actually got a Squier Debut here, which is the cheapest Squier you can get, made in China, so not an exact comparator. However, let's have a listen. One of the key points here is this article. It says, here we are taking out a second mortgage to finance the purchase of a dozen eggs. Then along come genuine Fender Stratocasters and Telecasters for $599 street. So that's what this kind of conversation is about, in a way. Like, they brought a Fender Standard to the market, $600 or £500. Does it matter where it's made? I guess is the question mark for some people. But anyway, so what does Justin say? So it's made in Cor-Tek, so it's a Cort guitar, right? Where PRS make guitars here, Strandberg make guitars there, Ibanez, the AZs are made there as well, the premium range, not the prestige. So it's not, the fact that it's made in Indonesia is not the issue, I don't think. With the quality of guitars being made at a Fender's Ensenada facility in Mexico rising all the time, and accordingly the price, Norvell says it was time to go all in with the Indonesian project and revisit what an entry-level Fender guitar looked like. Sitting somewhere in between Squier's top-of-the-line Classic Vibe series and the Player 2, that standard series guitar looks something like this. The electrics all have poplar bodies, bolt-on maple necks with a satin urethane finish and modern C profile. I would say slim C. It's pretty slim, skinny neck. A gloss urethane finish on the headstock, 9.5-inch radius Indian Laurel fretboards with 21 medium jumbo frets. The pickups are new ceramic winds. For hardware, you get die-cast tuners with hex buttons and a standard 2-point tremolo with satin chrome steel block saddles. I've already watched some of the punditry post-launch where it's like, oh, it's a Squier with a Fender decal on it. Justin saying. It's not about a price point or filling a hole in a business term. It's about, I'm a kid guitar player or someone that wants a second guitar and I don't want to buy super high-end, but I want a rock-solid, reliable, name-brand guitar. We didn't have that. Our company's statement is serving all players at all stages, and we were kind of falling down on that in some respects. I've already watched some of the punditry post-launch where it's like, oh, it's a Squier with the Fender decal on it. Things like, this is just an Affinity Series Squier guitar with Fender on headstock. How do you rebut that? It was designed from the bottom up. Those guitars are value engineered. I would say an Affinity Series model, you are managing costs the whole time. You're just like, how do I get it into the right spot while still being as good as an instrument playing as it can? This guitar was designed with the price thing removed. Basically, so it's just like, what is the best guitar that we can make with this partner in this facility that would be worthy of the Fender name? The guardrails that were almost keep something Squier were off, but we were still conscious of what was above it and what was below it and what would make sense. It really was a clean slate, and it was like, can we do this? Geography is a fascinating thing that is controversial. If this guitar had come out of one of our other facilities saying Fender, no one would be having this conversation. So Squier starts to bend more vintage at the top of its line, so the classic vibe is what we're talking about here. We wanted to go with something that's a little bit more modern, more overwound, distortion friendly, more aggressive. We had recently gone back to a more vintage Alnico thing on the Player series, so we thought this was one of the ways this could stick out. So that maybe is an argument for the ceramic pickups here. Maybe. It also happens, I think, that ceramic pickups tend to be put in cheaper guitars, so that's a happy coincidence, maybe. So that's the message that they're really trying to get across, I guess, is that the ceramic pickups are a choice, and that this was designed from the ground up. And I guess it just happens to be that, coincidentally, a lot of the specs are almost exactly, what you might get from a Squier, which would be cheaper. So like the Laurel fretboard, you know, presumably the reason that you wouldn't use rosewood is cost. The Poplar body, presumably the reason you wouldn't use alder would be cost. So those are some key areas where they've tried to keep costs down. The pickups, ceramic instead of Alnico, apparently now that's a choice around making the guitar more suited to modern players. Also, like the skinny neck, maybe that's an argument for that. But at the end of the day, is it that different from a Squier? I guess Fender are telling you that it is, so believe them, I guess. The frets are the real point that you might notice a step up, I think, from like a Squier. Like, these are a bit scratchy, and these on the Fender are quite smooth. But ultimately, if Andertons have pointed out that the pickups on the Standard in their video that you watch, you'll see maybe that they felt like these were slightly dull. Okay, one other area which I would say, the nuts, like the Fender, I'd say has a better build quality overall than the Squier, and the fret job is nicer, and also the hardware is significantly nicer. So, I don't know, it's up to you to decide on that, I think. Is that a Squier with a different decal on top? Does it matter what the decal is, or do you buy a guitar based on specs? And if you're buying a guitar based on specs alone, then the specs on this are not much different from a Squier. And I think maybe that's the mistake that Fender have sort of made there, in that they could have spec'd it in some ways significantly different away from other guitars that are being made in that same factory with Squier on the headstock, and it would be a slightly different conversation. I don't think it's just that it's built in Indonesia, it's also that the spec sheet actually is a little too close to a Squier, maybe. I don't know, let me know your thoughts in the comments.